So I'm Michael Arnold. I'm a Five Element Acupuncturist, and I've been practicing and teaching Five Element Acupuncture about 20 years now.
Why do you believe in acupuncture?
Why do I believe in Five Element Acupuncture? It's a good question. Well, I think it stems from, first of all, my experience of having Five Element Acupuncture many years ago was very transformative. It completely changed my experience of life. I was in a very bad place. I wasn't sleeping. My best friend had just died, and I was basically ready to try anything. I didn't know anything about acupuncture, and luckily someone recommended me to a Five Element acupuncturist, and pretty quickly something major shifted inside me. And I remember walking out even after the first session and just feeling this sense of lightness, just like something lifted off me. And over the course of the next couple of months, my insomnia disappeared completely, and this sense of ease and lightness started to return to my life. And when I say return, but actually I don't think I'd ever experienced that sense of peace. And one way it would manifest is that just there was a stillness, that there weren't as many thoughts. My mind wasn't so busy and active all the time. And the thoughts that had previously made me stressed lost the same ability to make me stressed. And that's not to say I never feel stressed ever anymore, but it just created this new kind of foundation of ease and peace in my life that I didn't even know was possible. And I remember at one point thinking, why do people not know about this amazing system of medicine? Because a lot of people know that acupuncture can help with things like back pain, but it's not really associated in the same way with kind of spiritual growth and kind of increasing awareness and kind of peace in your life. So it was pretty much a no-brainer. I finished what I was studying neuroscience at university, and I decided that wasn't for me. I didn't want to work in a laboratory, and I finished that degree, and I straight away trained to become an acupuncturist. And
So Five Element Acupuncture, how is it different to any other types of acupuncture?
How is it different to other types of acupuncture? Well, there's a few main differences, but I'll focus on the two kind of main differences. So one is that we focus on what's called the causative factor of disease, and that's different for each person. So the aim is to find the root cause of the imbalance for that person. And when you do that and you strengthen that area, because it's like having a weakness, everybody has like an Achilles heel, that when you strengthen that area, everything comes back into balance. And the great thing is that even if someone has forgotten to tell me about a particular symptom, quite often that will improve, because you're not treating the individual symptoms one after the other. You're treating the root cause of all the person's ailments, whether that's physical or mental or spiritual. And the other thing that makes a difference is that for most people, we focus on the spiritual level. So when most people come along, and they might come along for a physical ailment, but most of the time, and even Western medicine is catching up with this, that most of the time the word dis-ease is interesting, the word dis-ease, because it can mean lack of ease, dis-ease or disharmony. And often the root cause of the person's imbalance is at the level of the spirit, because they're not getting what they need on a deep level. And it could be that life has knocked them out of balance. It could be that they're experiencing stresses, or they've had trauma in their life that has then had a knock-on effect physically. And science shows that when you have elevated cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone, over a long period of time, that starts to have a knock-on effect in the body. For example, it creates inflammation, it can cause autoimmune disorders, and it can cause the whole balance of the hormones and the chemicals in the body to become disrupted.
What does it help with?
So Five Element Acupuncture helps with a range of different things. So often people come along, yes, they might come along with something physical like eczema. I work a lot with fertility. But a lot of the time people have a sense that there's something not right in their life. They could be experiencing things like anxiety or depression even. Or sometimes people just come along because they don't quite know what's wrong, or maybe their friends recommended them to Five Element Acupuncture and they just said, you've got to try this. And they don't quite know exactly what's wrong in their life. They may have a few kind of niggling ailments, but they just sense that something isn't quite at peace in their life. Something needs to shift. And I think those are the people who tend to get the most out of it, whether it doesn't really matter what symptoms they come along for. But the people who recognize that the way they're living their life right now isn't working for them. And they need to make a shift in their awareness. And quite often what happens is they start to recognize that there are thought patterns that are limiting them, that are holding them back. Or they start to become aware of their patterns more. And that's one of the really exciting things about Five Element Acupuncture. It increases your awareness, so that you start to recognize, oh, I'm not feeling stressed or anxious because of what's happening in my life. It's because of the thoughts that my brain is telling me, the stories that my mind is making for me. And but sometimes when people aren't ready, emotions can come up to the surface, because it's quite common that people suppress difficult emotions. That was true for me when I first had acupuncture. I wasn't allowing the grief of my friend's death to come up to the surface. So emotions can come up to the surface, and sometimes if people aren't ready for it, then it's too painful to look at. But if you're really ready, if the suffering is more painful than actually making a shift in your life, then you're ready for a change. And then you can recognize, okay, these emotions need to come up to the surface, and actually it's freeing, because you can actually release the feelings, and then they dissipate. They can only stick around for a long time because you're putting a lid on it all.
Is there a metaphor that your patients have used to express how they felt after acupuncture?
A metaphor. Some people use all kinds of visceral metaphors, like that. Suddenly they're like a balloon that's been overexpanded, and suddenly all the kind of the stress and the air kind of the extra air starts to come out. Or people often say that it feels like a release, like physically they walk out and their body is more relaxed. And I can often see it in people's eyes. That's what makes it so exciting. That's what kind of gets me out of bed in the morning, is like the look at the end of a session when someone's eyes, there's like a sparkle that returns to the person's eyes. And they say the eyes are the windows to the soul, and it's true. But you can see a very tangible difference when it's been a very powerful treatment. You can see there's a renewed spark in that person's eyes, and that's what excites me. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning.